Hello, everybody. Happy Halloween to ya. I am back with another pre-recorded bonus video, or bonus video for the uninitiated. I'm here with Graveyard Girls. Now, this is something a bit different for the channel. Quite a bit deviation from what I might normally play. So I actually got this on sale a while ago. It was really, really cheap. And I said, oh, this is a Halloween-themed visual novel called Graveyard Girls. Let me grab this now, and maybe that'll be something that I can put on my streaming schedule for October/Halloween this year. Turns out, this is not exactly what I initially thought. It's not horror at all. It's not spooky, nor is it scary, but is instead like a pretty straightforward and serious story about loss and grief and how we deal with those emotions, how we move on and learn from those emotions. And in saying that, I said, you know what? I don't know if this is something I should stream at all. I don't know if this is something that's going to benefit from reading the chat and silly voices and all that. And I guess I should issue sort of a content warning here because I've seen it and referenced to this, that this is a pretty heavy story, a pretty serious story. And, you know, if that's something that you are especially struggling with, maybe not the thing for you, and that's perfectly fine. But I did get this, and I try not to be in the habit of not playing things that I get, you know? So I thought I'd check this out and maybe just do it as a pre-recorded little series. I don't think it's very long. I might split it up into parts. But since it is so different from what I'm used to playing and used to streaming, I thought we would maybe do it more justice in this format than streaming it. That said, I seen pretty good things about it. I am looking forward to checking this out, and if you're sticking with me, welcome aboard, and I'm happy to have you here. Let's give it a look. Oh, and here you go. Graveyard Girls depicts the complicated and traumatic aftermath of losing a parent during young adulthood. The topic has been addressed as authentically as possible. There you go. If you're struggling with grief, you may not have a safe experience playing this game, or watching a Let's Play of it. The game is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Would you like to continue? Yes, I certainly would. Wow. I mean, I appreciate and respect the effort, but what a shame if you get here after purchasing it and realize you don't want to. Choices in the game unlock scribbles. These are available in the memory section of the main menu after unlocking. Okay, and so there are some choices and perhaps different endings and scenes and things like that we can get. I think I don't want auto on, do I? The leaves crunch below my feet as I make my way through the cemetery, counting each road that I pass. A frigid gust of wind catches my hair and blows it into my vision. I tuck it away carefully. I can't help but remember how he used to tease me about finding my long hair everywhere. He'd always tell me how beautiful it was. Once I find the section I've been searching for, I let out a sigh, although it's not of relief. The cold stone inscription stares back at me, expressionless. Jason Gray, beloved husband and father. As I read the name quietly to myself, I feel like he's greeted me in his own way. What am I supposed to say? Nothing seems quite right, so I settle on the simplest of phrases. Hi, Dad. I made it. I know it's been a while. In truth, it's been too long. The last time I visited, he didn't even have a headstone. I'm sorry. I should have come sooner. What am I thinking? Coming here isn't going to help. As if talking to a polished rock is going to bring any kind of closure. I turn to leave, but there's a magnetism to this place. As if he'd reached for my hand and said, "You're leaving? Already?" I gaze back at his headstone and whisper to myself, "You want me to stay? fine. My mom always insisted that I be careful not to stand on graves when visiting cemeteries. But that was out of respect for strangers. This is my dad's resting place. I'd sat on his lap 1,000 times before. What would he care if I rested on his grave now? I know he wouldn't have minded. Without another moment of hesitation, I brushed away the leaves and sit back against his headstone. I lay my notebook across my thighs and settle into place. Pretty artwork. If I'm staying for a while, I'm getting comfy. I glimpsed towards the late afternoon sun and paused to admire the golden glow of autumn. I'm not sure if this will show up in the recording, but I'll just clarify if there's big black rectangles appearing in the top right corner. It's the PlayStation trophies coming in as I progress, which for some reason, PlayStation automatically censors those trophies out of recordings and streams. I would rather it just not show anything at all. I don't know, it's weird. Just thought I'd clarify. He loved this time of year. Well, I'm guessing not much has changed with you. He'd appreciate that sarcasm. Dark humor was his thing. That's probably where I got it from. I'll just sit here and talk to myself. Like a crazy person. Talking to yourself like a crazy person? I don't know what that's like. I take a deep breath in, but the crisp air won't soothe the ache in my lungs. I need to say something. Anything. Alright, choices. Let's stay positive. It looks like someone brought you flowers. That was thoughtful. If I were to guess, I'd say it was Aunt Cora. She misses you. She tried so hard to be there for Mom after your accident. Nope, that's too much. I clear my throat and try to refocus on lighter thoughts. I guess I should give you an update on my life. You'll be happy to hear that I finished college. Just gonna leave out the part where I nearly failed a dozen times. I studied tourism and hospitality. It seemed interesting enough. I've got a job in my field too. I work at the front desk of the Spring Dream Suites. It's a starter job. I won't be there forever. Famous last words. I'd love to work at a resort in the tropics someday. Living on an island would be dreamy. I rub my hands together distractedly, feeling a frosty nip at my fingertips. Anywhere warmer than here would be fine. I feel at a loss for what to say next. I ended things with, never mind. That's in the past. You didn't know him that well anyway. I don't know what else to tell you. There are parts of my life that I wouldn't feel right about sharing. I'm holding back the negative side. It's not what I need to focus on. But I didn't realize how little good news I have. Dad. I'm trying to keep moving forward, but I feel like I'm all talk. I've made a lot of shitty choices, and I'm trying to leave them behind. I'm still making those choices, even when I try not to. I know I can't pretend like they never happened, but handling conversations about mistakes isn't something I'm practiced at. A smirk pulls at the edge of my lips. Even if they're one-sided conversations. I know I don't get excuses either, but no one gets to prepare for sudden goodbyes. Anyway, I've been writing. Quite a lot, actually. Almost daily. It's therapeutic, I think. Getting my feelings on paper helps me feel detached from them. They're a little less heavy when I read them aloud. When I write, I can push the darkest thoughts I'm having away, even momentarily. The best part is I'm not afraid that someone's listening and analyzing. It feels safer than the grief counseling I attended. I don't think the professionals were judging me, but when they listened, I felt them processing my words and misunderstanding. Just because I write dark things doesn't mean I'm a dark person. I'm reaching for brighter thoughts and feelings when I let those words go. My new therapist understands. She's different than the others. It finally feels important that I go to my appointments. I don't look forward to them because they're a lot. But when I leave, I feel lighter. Like I've lessened the load on my shoulders. I get scared sometimes because each day is a wild card. I hate feeling like everything is out of my control. I'm terrified that therapy can't save me. I don't want to bottle things up again. Holding that shit in was the worst idea I've ever had. Fuck it. Dad, I'm done pretending. I drink. I smoke. I popped some pills before I left the house. I'll do anything to be numb. And I'm afraid that scribbling my feelings isn't enough. I thought the pain was dulling, but it's worse than the day you died. I know you're not here today, but I keep picturing you in every tomorrow. And each day, that image grows a little dimmer. Between losing you and Mom taking off, I've been trying so hard to feel empty. Being happy fell out of reach, so feeling less became the best option. Turns out being destructive couldn't save me. You can't hear drowning girls cry. I wipe away the overflowing stream of tears with my sleeve and shut my eyes. Practice those deep breaths. It's okay to be upset. I inhale and exhale. But the breaths are intruded on. The earth sways below as a sensation of floating overcomes me, almost like sitting on a boat. Uh-oh. Why does it feel like the world's drifting? It's probably those stupid allergy pills. A twinge of concern washes over me as I try to imagine the state of my liver, but I excuse the thoughts quickly. It's not like I eat vegetables or drink enough water anyway. Coffee, bread, and cheese are my food groups. I have now been made painfully aware that also sums up quite well what I've had to eat and drink today. It was dumb to take more pills before leaving. I know it's a bad day when they can't keep me from crying. I try to focus on the positives. At least I was doing better. Taking them as prescribed was a challenge, but I managed to for quite a while. Today was a hiccup. They're usually a subtle but helpful bandage. I'm an idiot for thinking they'd handle this visit. Subtle can't cover this. How could I ever expect this visit to be easy? It was naive of me. Today is always going to fucking sting. The words I've whispered under my breath 1,000 times echo out once again. You're never going to be okay. I sit with the words. You're never going to be okay. Never. Ever. Again. I tell myself that I needed to get those words out of my system. But I know that they're bound to sit on the tip of my tongue again, waiting to escape. With my eyes still shut, I sigh and let my thoughts drift with the vertigo. Maybe those pills weren't so useless. A chilly gust lifts, fluttering leaves away from the earth, and I can hear them dancing through the air. I begin to imagine that I'm flying with them, twirling away from this place. Away from my body. Hello? A voice? I must have imagined it. Are you okay? What the? I open my eyes and stumble upward in a daze. I hurriedly dust off my clothes before looking toward the stranger behind the question. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm taken aback by her presence. She's incredible. Sorry. I didn't expect to see anyone here. No, it's fine. You didn't scare me. My throbbing heart tells a different story. I suddenly feel thankful that I'm not the blushing type. Are you alright? I'm fine. Why? She gestures towards my dad's headstone and suddenly raises her eyebrows. I think you were sleeping on someone's grave. Did you, know them? I laugh half-heartedly. It's my dad. He wouldn't mind. Oh! The girl's posture stiffens noticeably, and I remind myself to tone back the abruptness. You're not talking to a ghost anymore. Act normal. Let's start with names. What's your name? I'm Lucia. And you are? I quickly realized that I should have introduced myself first. Shit, we failed. Bad ending. It would have been the polite thing to do. Why do I always feel so disjointed when I meet new people? It's embarrassing. My name's Elle. It's nice to meet you. That sounded more robotic than genuine, but at least I'm trying. So, Elle, do you mind if I ask why you're napping in a cemetery? Well, it wasn't on the agenda. I took allergy medication and it hit a little harder than I anticipated. Oof, I've been there. What are you allergic to? I scrambled to come up with a good excuse. Not too sure. Had some hives and figured it was best to take a pill. Or 4. I get it. Sometimes cats make my eyes itchy. I pet them anyway. They're worth it. Same. I understand that one big time. I can't help but smile back at Lucia. She seems sweet. So, you were visiting someone too? Lucia's smile falters. Nice job. You're always good at brightening the room. Yes, my sister passed away. Her name was Kate. She died last week. I can't help but regurgitate the sentence that everyone had spoken to me in the past. I'm sorry. Lucia shifts her feet uncomfortably and stares at the ground. I remember standing like that too, unsure of how to respond. Sorry, that wasn't the right thing to say. I don't mind, it's what everyone says. I know. I've been there. My dad died 4 years ago, so the memories are still pretty fresh. Lucia's eyes widen fearfully. They are? I struggle to backtrack, jumping to console her as best as I can. Not in the same way that you're feeling. I mean that it's his anniversary today, so it feels closer than usual. Lucia's shoulders drop slightly as her gaze softens. That's understandable. I get it now. I'll be visiting on Kate's day, too. Does visiting get easier? A Molotov mixture of disgust and embarrassment builds in my chest. What am I supposed to say? Lie for her comfort? Tell her the truth. I think we can tell her the truth. Why not? Be honest. I decide the truth is my best option. I don't know. Her eyebrows furrow slightly. A hint of confusion glimmers in her gaze. What do you... I mean that I haven't been here since he was... I trail off, the words too heavy to speak. I haven't talked about his burial before. The smooth and polished shine of his cherry wood casket revisits me. No. Don't cry in front of her. Don't scare her. I shake my head and try to find my way back to the present. Sorry. Lucia nods in silent understanding. We pause for a moment, both not quite sure how to continue. Lucia takes a step closer, trying her best to mend the gap between us. Elle, you don't have to explain. I'm sorry that I prodded. I expect the knots in my stomach to twist and tighten, but they nearly surrender as Lucia looks at me apologetically. Instead of burying the words and leaving them to wait for my notebook, I speak up. I want to explain. Lucia smiles softly with a hint of encouragement. When it came to visiting, I couldn't do it. It never felt right. My memories of him aren't in this spot. They're everywhere but here. I tried once, but it wasn't long after he'd passed. He was full of life, so his graveside, it wasn't a place I could reflect on him. Until today? Yeah, today I wanted to try again. I'm not exactly sure why. I guess I hoped it would help with the closure. Lucia looks towards my father's headstone. Those are beautiful flowers. I like the arrangement you chose. I bite at my lip unconsciously. Thanks, but I didn't leave those. I think his sister was here earlier. Cora is big on flowers. Oh well, she has good taste. Sorry to focus on the flowers, I can't help myself. I'm a florist. That's interesting. The anxious realization that I never thought to bring my dad flowers hits me. It never even crossed my mind. Does Lucia think it's rude that I didn't? Maybe you could suggest a bouquet for my dad? I should have brought one. Hey, if it's not your thing, don't feel like you have to buy them. Lucia smiles carefully as she reads me like an open book. I do have an idea, though, if you want to leave him something meaningful. Please, I'd love to. I expected not to mean that, but for some reason I want to. Wait here, please. I nod as Lucia walks past me. Whoa! Speed of light there, Lucia. I flip through my notes instead of staring after her, doing my best not to act entranced. Where did this girl come from? She's so sweet. But the crunch of fallen leaves under footsteps carries from the distance. Lucia stands closer than before. I brought you this. She reaches into her bag and extends her hand. A single icy blue rose sits between her thumb and forefinger. I reach forward but stop in hesitation. Where did you get it? It was left at Kate's grave. A gasp escapes my lips and I shake my head. I can't take that. No, don't worry. Kate would want your father to have a flower. She doesn't like roses anyway. Lucia trails off, realizing what she said. I mean, didn't. Kate didn't like roses. I try my best to reassure her with my gaze as I accept the rose. Thank you. That present tense thing, it goes away. Don't feel like you need to jump to correct yourself. Time will take care of it. Lucia nods silently in response. As I kneel against the cold earth to place the blue rose on my dad's grave, I realize how fresh the flower is. The edges of the petals have barely begun to wilt. I feel Lucia's eyes on my back. Before turning toward her, I ask the question on my mind. Lucia? When was Kate's funeral? Yesterday. As I face Lucia, I want to ask her why she's here today. I want to know how she's doing. I want to hug her. I want to make her feel less alone, even for a fraction of a second. I want to give her what I never had. A moment of silence passes us by. But before I can ask Lucia to let me in, she breaks the silence herself. Are you still tired? I massage the back of my neck absent-mindedly and laugh a little. Yeah. Did the dark circles give me away? Lucia giggles softly. No, your eyes are fine. That was kind of her to lie about. I've looked in a mirror before. I can't believe I fell asleep. It's a little embarrassing. Don't worry about it. Do you drink coffee? Yes. Let me buy you one. You don't want to sleep through Halloween. There's a great coffee shop in the Old Town district. Old Town? Isn't that a little far? Did you drive here? No, I walked. Well, I don't mind giving you a ride. Let me take you. It's my treat. Unless you have other plans? I don't, but... A part of me remains hesitant. Getting into cars with strangers isn't something my parents encourage, that's for sure. She seems harmless enough, but I don't actually know her. Plus, today is not exactly an easy day for me. Lucia quietly reads over my rigid stance. Without explanation, she grins and starts to giggle at me. Did you want to take a selfie together? What? That is a weird question. What? You could send it to a friend. That way, if you go missing, they know exactly who to look for. That makes perfect sense. Why did I think of that? I smile back at her and suddenly shake my head. No, it's fine. I stick out my thumb in a hitchhiking fashion. I love the thrill of getting into a stranger's car. Lucia playfully rolls her eyes before winking at me. Buckle up then, we're going for a ride. We head towards the road, walking past rows of headstones side by side. I didn't imagine I'd be leaving here with someone. The feeling of walking close to her is strangely comforting. I guess I always expected to be here alone. But even if I had a special person in my life, I wouldn't ask them to come here. It's hard to understand what it's like to visit this place. Unless you're missing someone. The drive to the coffee shop is uneventful. Lucia's car has heated seats, so I try my best to subtly warm my hands under my thighs. Oh man, I would be falling asleep in those heated seats. She doesn't seem to notice and stays focused on driving. We chat about the weather, mostly. Once we reach the Old Town District, Lucia carefully navigates toward the last parking spot on the street. It's Halloween! See? It all ties together. Jack-o'-lanterns. It says boo. This is the place. I haven't been here in forever. Oh, and the music kind of like spooky. It's got like a little theremin. Alright, we're locked in. After stepping out of the car, Lucia tugs gently on my sweater and guides me to the crosswalk. She's practically bouncing toward the cafe. I would be too. Look at it. Once we cross, we find ourselves at the front doors. Despite the chilly weather, they still offer outdoor seating. A waitress steps outside to greet us with a smile on her face. It's a shadow person. Oh god, it is a horror game. So I'm tempted to give her a horror voice. But I'm not going to, because it would feel starkly inappropriate. Welcome! If you'd like to take a seat, I'll be right with you. As the waitress steps inside, I move to follow her. Lucia pulls at my sleeve again with an expectant grin. Let's sit out here, it's more private. As we take our seats outside the cafe, I can feel the energy of the cemetery fall away. Our table is vibrantly decorated with Halloween-themed trinkets and candles. This is so cute! I agree, Lucia. Lucia and I are the same person, I think. I can't argue with that. She definitely chose a festive spot. The street is bustling with ghouls and witches. Even our waitress is dressed up. As a shadow person.
Happy Halloween.
I'm doing it now.
Can I interest you in one of our spooky specials?
She's putting on that voice because it's part of her costume. You understand? Lucia's eyes light up immediately. Ooh, what are they? The waitress grins, realizing she's hooked Lucia in.
Today, we have our pumpkin cheesecake paired with an even full specialty drinks for $8.99.
Oh, God.
If you're craving something warm and hearty, we also have butternut squash soup with one of our fresh-baked biscuits.
I hope you don't have many other lines. If this is like a new main character, I've really put myself in a compromising position here. Lucia squeals with delight. I don't have my cup of tea here on standby. I love cheesecake! Could I get the pumpkin cheesecake with the pumpkin spice latte, please? I guess she likes pumpkins. She and I are the same person. After jotting down Lucia's order, the waitress's gaze darts towards me.
What would you like?
That pumpkin cheesecake sounds fine.
And to drink?
I rack my brain for anything other than the pumpkin spice latte. Sorry, what are your other fall drinks?
Maple pecan and chai lattes.
You know, I feel like the anti-pumpkin spice latte movement is so played out now that, like, it's more cringe than liking pumpkin spice lattes. I say this as somebody who loves pumpkin spice lattes, pumpkin cream cold brews, pumpkin ales, etc. If that's basic, I don't want to be anything but. Lucia raises her eyebrows and whispers exaggeratedly across the table. Psst, the maple pecan sounds super yummy. I can't help but chuckle. Alright, I'll get the maple pecan latte, and that does sound good. The waitress nods and leaves with a smile. Barely a minute passes before our waitress rushes back to the table.
Here are your lattes.
Thanks so much!
I'll bring your cheesecake over as soon as it's ready.
It's water. Oof. A lot of reading. I should not have added that voice to the story. Lucia peers over at me with a curious glimmer in her eyes. Do you think it's too hot to sip? I'm sure it's fine. I lift the cup to my lips and decide to take a swig. Yikes! My throat burns as I try desperately to clear it inconspicuously. I do my best not to sputter on Lucia as I reply. It's quite warm still. She giggles softly. You didn't need to be my lab rat. Just trying to be helpful. Lucia raises her cup and takes a careful sip. It's not that hot. Were you trying to scare me? Well, it is Halloween. How did she not scald herself? She's a ghost. Does she have no sense of temperature? Maybe that's why she chose outdoor seating on this chilly day. Do you like celebrating Halloween? I falter, unsure of how to explain myself. I used to. Lucia realizes what she's asked. Oh, her dad died on Halloween, right? Sorry, I can't believe I forgot that today is... No apology necessary. I try my best to steer the conversation with a lighter tone in my voice. I do like Halloween, by the way. I just haven't done much other than hand out candy for a few years. The kids in my neighborhood love my place. They know I always have tons of treats. You only hand out candy? You haven't dressed up? No, but I did like that part when I was in high school. Great! I'm going to a costume party tonight. What do you think? Spooky or sexy? Uh-huh. What kind of costume should I go with? I have a closet full of options. Oh, we get to actually choose. That's incredible. I would say third option. Why not both? But you know me, I'm going to say first and foremost, let's go spooky. Spooky. It's classic. She grins with an almost fiendish quality. I like how you think. Maybe I'll dress up as a witch. I can see her pulling off that look. Your hair is perfect for a witch costume. You go for a real mystical vibe. You think so? Absolutely. Well, would you let me tell your fortune then? I shrug casually. Sure, I'd love to get some insight. Lucia reaches over and takes my hand in her own. She studies it carefully, squinting with exaggerated focus. Evening, there are stars in the night sky. I see you're headed towards a house. She closes her eyes and yanks at my arm even harder. I nearly fall across the table. Hey, be careful! Shh! There's a crowd of swirling capes and vibrant dresses. Oh! Drinks and candies are being passed around a colorfully lit room. You'll arrive there very soon. I will? Lucia releases my hand from her grip and opens her eyes. So, did you want to come to the party with me? I was going to go alone, but Lucia's words drift away from me. They drifted away from me too. Where'd they go? My limbs stiffen as if I'd suddenly been plunged in icy water. A party on Halloween. That night. He went out that night. I was the one that called him. I bite my cheek, desperate to escape the coursing river of guilt. No. No freaking out. Not now. I dig my nails into my palm, trying to snap myself away from the echo of that Halloween party. Okay. Focus and breathe. The idea of rejecting Lucia hurts, but I can't go with her. The voice of my therapist saying, trauma trigger, rings in my ear. I promised that I'd stop being self-destructive, and I can't risk Lucia seeing me like that. I can't. Not tonight, at least. The ghost of that distant night disappears as quickly as it arrived. I'm at the cafe with Lucia. I'm okay. Lucia grips the handle of her mug and spins it absent-mindedly. I thought you didn't have plans. I have a date later. I'm sorry that I didn't mention it. A frown escapes Lucia. A date? I nod. Yep, with a bowl of leftover candy. Leftover? Oh! Relief washes over her. If it isn't obvious already, I'm painfully single. It's not obvious. Really? Of course it isn't! You're so pretty. For a second, my heart skips a beat. Wow. I realize how rude I might be coming off. I mean, thanks! We break eye contact and struggle to continue. That's one way to snap back into reality. Come on, keep it up. So, what's it like being a florist? My ploy to redirect the conversation is painfully evident. Lucia doesn't brush me off, luckily. My family has owned a flower shop for 3 generations, so it's pretty natural for me. What about you? Are you a student? No, I graduated from a tourism and hospitality program. I work at the Spring Dream Suites. That sounds interesting. It's really not. My job is to fend off bad reviews, basically. Lucia laughs, but I'm afraid it's forced. Do you like to travel? I haven't really traveled since I was a kid. But if I ever had the chance, I'd love to work at a resort. Just to see what it's like to live in a warm climate. Count me in! I'm always down to book a room in an island resort. I promise I'll leave a good review too, if you get me a discount. I can't help but giggle. I'll do my best. I'm curious about your job. When did you join your family's business? They started training me when I was young. I spent plenty of summers playing in my grandmother's garden. She started the business with my grandfather. It's beautiful. They have a huge property out in the countryside. I loved putting together bouquets for my mom when I was little. My grandma would help me pick them, so they always turned out perfectly. She called it my training. Her plan worked though. I'm running the business with my parents now. My grandparents are retired, but they still help out when we're short-handed. Lucia's gaze seems to intensify. It feels like she's looking right through me. Is she alright? She notices my concern and smiles reassuringly. Sorry, I was thinking about those summers as a kid. I can still picture the day that my sister made a flower crown out of daisies. She put it on my head and called me a princess. It was just a game to Kate, but... She clears her throat. That was the day I fell in love with flowers. I'll never forget it. Lucia. That was a vulnerable moment. Her hands tremble ever so slightly. She must have been nervous to share that memory with me. That's so special.
Hello, ladies, no! Here's your pumpkin cheesecake.
Before I could finish, our waitress interrupts. We wait for her to set down our plates and cutlery.
Can I get you anything else?
I think we're good, thanks. I gotta get some more water. The waitress steps away and heads inside. I fiddle with my notebook and flip through the pages while Lucia sips her drink. Elle, can I ask you a question? I smile, eager to start chatting again. Go ahead. Lucia motions towards the table. What's that? Oh, it's my notebook. Like a diary? Sort of. It has a bit of everything. Unfinished thoughts, sketches, and some journaling. I don't usually carry it around. You brought it for your dad? Maybe it was obvious, or maybe she understands me. Yeah, I did. I thought about reading to him, but I felt weird once I got there. I talked to him instead, which wasn't much easier. I think I know how you feel. I tried talking to Kate today, but I couldn't. I left her voicemails instead. It felt closer to how things were. Almost normal. It's subtle, but Lucia's voice breaks as she trails off. Instinctively, I reach across the table. For a fraction of a second, my hand rests atop her own. I pull away swiftly, fearing that I've invaded her space. Sorry. She stares at her lap, unmoving. Thank you, that was nice. For a moment, I envision the horrible precipice Lucia is hovering on the edge of. Unfiltered, unprocessed, raw grief. One day she's going to realize that in the infinite possibilities of this universe, she will never see her sister again. The realization that there will never be another moment shared with Kate. The end of making memories and the beginning of their blurring. It seems clear, but it never is. Elle? Yeah? Lucia bites at her lip and stares into her cup. I have questions that I'm afraid to ask anyone else. I don't want to be weird or rude, but you seem to understand loss better than anyone I've spoken to. I struggle to give her a good answer. What if I make her feel worse? I decide to warn her. Honestly, I'm not the best person to get grief counseling from. I need somebody to be real with me. I'm tired of being brushed off. Suddenly, the circle of chairs in the church basement revisits me. I felt brushed off too. It was so discouraging. Alright, what do people say to you? I heard that the stages can take years, but that the pain won't last forever. Is it true? The stages? Honestly, I forget how much people like to focus on that idea. My grief wasn't in stages, at least not in the way I expected. She gives me a quizzical stare through glassy eyes. Emotions aren't dominoes, they don't fall in a logical pattern. My grief falls like sudden rain on a cloudless day. I can wake up in acceptance and go to bed angry or bargaining. Lucia's eyes brighten. That was poetic. I ignore her praise. Look, I know that your sister is always on your mind right now, but there's going to be days where you forget about Kate for longer than you ever thought possible. I forget about my dad all the time. Lucia seems startled by my admission. There are moments when his memory doesn't stir any pain or tears. Because you're healing? No. I feel ashamed or angry, even dull at times. It always feels wrong. You'll probably be disgusted with yourself for pulling it together and burying how deeply you miss her. I felt punished for trying to function. Going to work, visiting friends, even getting dressed. Putting away the pain is harder than carrying it. I just want you to know that. There's no winning. There's no easy way to process this loss. She blinks carefully. Intentionally. As if she's truly absorbing the information. You know? Lucia stops to clear her throat before continuing. I didn't plan to go back to Kate's grave today. You didn't? No. I was driving around mindlessly and it sort of dawned on me that wandering in a daze was disrespectful to her memory. She would have done anything for a clear moment. I'm not sure that I follow. I don't want to demand answers, but I can't nod and pretend it makes sense like that grief group did. I'm not here to tell her that she's young and that it'll make it easier. That was wrong of them. Anecdotes and adages aren't solutions. I want to listen and do my best to understand her. But Lucia doesn't move to explain herself. If you're not ready to tell... No, it's fine. Sorry, I need a moment. I nod and wait for her to gather her thoughts. She takes a deep breath and begins. Kate suffered from chronic health problems and taught me what a privilege a pain-free day is. She tried her best to live a normal life, but her health had a habit of stealing happy moments from her. One morning, Kate didn't get up for breakfast. My mom went upstairs to check on her. They had plans to go shopping, so it was odd that she hadn't started getting ready. When my mom walked in, Kate wouldn't wake up. She was taking prescription drugs for her illness and she aspirated in her sleep. It was sudden, and she died all alone. And now I'm here, 1 week later, enjoying a pumpkin spice latte while my sister starts to rot in the ground. Jesus. My heart shudders as she speaks the word. Rot. So, yeah, I get what you mean. There are no right choices. Every moment without her feels wrong. I feel like a stranger in my own life. I never say anything like that, especially to someone I've just met, but I spoke without hesitating. And now, I'm regretting every word. I'm afraid that you think I'm a freak. No! It's horrible, but everything you said makes perfect sense. I don't want to tell her anything else. I don't want her to know that my heart doesn't feel like it did before. Lucia gives me a look that cuts deep. This girl's staring into my eyes, looking for hope. I reach out and squeeze her hand, but the comfort is forced. I don't know how to tell her that I'm broken too. She doesn't deserve the whiplash of false hope. I don't want to see her bite that apple. I don't want to watch it turn to bitter ash on her tongue. I pull my hand away and break the silence. Can I put my number in your phone? Lucia straightens her posture and reaches for her bag. Sure. She unlocks her phone and hands it over. I carefully type my information into the new contact menu, making sure I leave no mistakes. I know it's a cliche, but you can call me anytime. I don't care why either. Doesn't have to be an emergency. She nods as she stashes her cell phone back into her bag. Thank you. I still have questions if you're willing. I feel an acidic hesitation burning in my throat. I'm not sure if I'm the person you should be around right now. I think you're wrong. I don't think I am. I tried talking to other people dealing with loss, and it didn't help. Sometimes I wonder if the opposite would have been better. Maybe you need to surround yourself with people who don't get it. How would that help? Maybe you'll convince yourself that you're just like them. Fake it till you make it, but the grief counseling version. Look, I get it if you don't want to talk about grief, but I don't need kid gloves. She points to my lap. I want to hear the L that's in the notebook. I know you've already let me listen to her. When? The poetry. Grief that falls like sudden rain on a cloudless day. I'll bet you $20 that's been written in there. As much as I wouldn't mind paying for the meal, I won't bet against her. I know she's right, and she knows it too. I push aside my uncertainty. It's not like you have to see her again. If your answers freak her out, it was her choice to insist on them. But I find myself imagining her in my future. Where she fits in, I'm not sure. But I'm certain that I want to see her again. Okay, I'll bite. Finally, first, you have to make me a promise. What kind of promise? When we go our separate ways, you have to text me after. Even if it's to say bye forever. Okay, I promise that I'll text you. I wink at Lucia playfully. Ask me anything, I'm an open book. She grins at the notebook pun. Okay, let's start weird. Was your dad's service an open casket? Yep. Did he look himself? They never do. I hadn't seen a body before Kate's service. I don't know what I expected a dead person to look like, but it wasn't that. Looking at her made me feel sick. Or maybe it was afraid? I couldn't believe it was her. She looked like a doll. Like a weird imitation of Kate. Even when I wasn't staring at her, I knew exactly where she was. I couldn't tear my mind away from that image. She definitely didn't look like she was sleeping. She looked dead. I could barely focus on the service. She was all I saw. It's awful, but I can't really remember what anyone said to me that day. The eulogies are a blur. I pursed my lips. How did no one notice how she felt about seeing her dead sister? Why didn't anybody help her? I'm sorry nobody warned you before the funeral. I'm sorry that no one saw what you were dealing with during it either. You needed support and you deserved it. Thanks. Having a viewing isn't right for everyone. Please don't worry, it's okay to be freaked out. You're not the first to feel that way, trust me. There's a term for it. Seriously? Yeah, it's called Uncanny Valley. When you look at someone you've seen animated with life and see that emptiness, that absolute absence of energy, it's different for everyone, but you're not going to like it. I'm sorry you saw Kate that way. You deserve the option not to. Lucia frowned sharply. You're right. No one asked if I wanted an open casket. My parents did all the planning. I just showed up. My mom did the opposite. She dragged me to every moment of planning. Choosing Dad's casket. It's burned into my memory. There's no winning when you don't get a choice. We both deserve to make our own decisions. Lucia nods as her expression softens. After the funeral, I kept pulling a photo of Kate out of my wallet. I couldn't help but stare and cry. I was doing whatever I could to remember her the way she was instead of the shell I saw that day. I like to think that focusing on her smile helped. She sits back in her chair and motions towards her bag. Would you like to see it? Okay. Sure. Lucia carefully places a small photograph on the table between us. I sit forward and peer down, bracing myself. Instantly, I feel my heart shudder out of rhythm as I take in this smiling image of a girl my own age. She was so young. I look back to Lucia and try to keep my response simple. Your sister had a beautiful smile. She nods in agreement. I took that photo when we were gardening together last summer. Weeding my grandma's garden was always a pain, but Kate did her best to make me laugh whenever she could. She spent more time gathering up bouquets than actually pulling weeds. I didn't mind, though. Chores weren't so bad when she was around to help. I think Kate smiled every day of her life. I'll miss that the most. She was a bright light. That's why I always wanted to be like my big sister. Lucia reaches over and takes the photo, tucking it away carefully in her wallet. Elle, please don't feel pressure. I get it if you can't share anymore. I know that I'm not entitled to your pain or experiences, but I'd be lying if I said that I didn't want to hear them. Can I ask another question? Yes. Go for it. Lucia's lips quiver as her amber eyes betray a sliver of anxiety. You're sure? Please, I want to help. She swallows audibly. Do you feel like he's watching you? An old weight descends and perches on my shoulders. The hovering of familiar eyes. A specter I thought I'd left in the past. I shrug it away with a practiced breath. And the first few weeks after he died, yeah, quite often. That goes away fast, I think. You don't remember? I can't tell her how I yelled at nothingness in the days before Dad's funeral. How I ordered him away for my own comfort. That I didn't want him to visit, ever. I needed to live with his ghostly without his ghostly gaze. That stays between us. Simplicity is best. It goes away. Or you just decide that you don't care what they see. A hint of blush touches her cheek. It better go away. I felt weird showering today. I couldn't stop picturing her standing on the other side of the curtain waiting. It's eerie. I feel like I'm going crazy. I promise you're not crazy. I've been there. How did you do it? What? Cope. How did I cope? That's an impossible question. Keep going. Honestly, that's an answer I'm still searching for. You must have tried something. Oh, Lucia, I tried plenty. I decide to turn the question back toward her. What have you tried in the first week? My hair, I guess. It wasn't this color last week. I had the appointment before Kate died. She booked it for me. I couldn't bring myself to cancel it, so I went to her funeral like this. There's a hint of regret in her voice. There's nothing wrong with fashion colors. Maybe from your perspective. I thought it would make me happy, but it didn't work. I remember when I felt that way too. When I thought that a haircut or a tattoo could spill some color into the gray haze. I regret not rescheduling at least. My cousin implied that I was trying to steal Kate's spotlight. Some of Kate's friends did too. Spotlight? What a poor choice of words. That wasn't fair of them to say. But it was. I did that when she was alive. Kate was my best friend and worst enemy. I got so jealous of her, constantly. The worst part was Kate knew it, and she always did her best to reassure me that I was pretty or popular too. It didn't matter what was bothering me. She would zero in on it and try to fix things. Kate could be too kind. It was disarming and infuriating. And as much as she bugged me, I would do anything to get that back. I want her to make it better. I need to know what to do with all of this. I'm overflowing with feelings towards her, and there's no resolution. I can't work it out with her. Every chance slipped away in an instant. There's no outlet for this ocean of pain, and it hurts. I want it to stop, just for a second. I want a break. I can't give you a break. No one can. I know. I raised my hand to stop her. Wait, I wasn't done. I can't give you a break, but when things get too stormy, I could be your anchor. I wait, half expecting her to burst into laughter over the lame sentiment. Or maybe she'll pity me and say thanks as quickly as possible. Her eyes grow wide in disbelief. Why? You don't even know me. I think I know you better than you want me to. I know the questions in your head, I've lived them. Lucia freezes. Maybe that scares you? I feel like you know me too, and it's uncomfortable. It fills me with insecurities I didn't even know I had. But I still want to see you again. I want to meet the other pieces of you. I mean, I don't know your favorite color or hobbies, but I want to. She doesn't respond. That's the long-winded version of why I'll be there if you call. If you want to see me again. Lucia finally emerges from her silence. I do. But if you're going to know my story, I need to hear more of yours. I can tell you're censoring it. I'm not blind either. When I asked you about that Halloween party, you froze up. I saw it. Something stole you from our conversation for just a second. You don't need to hide that from me. If I'm going to be vulnerable, can't you be too? I promise I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going anywhere. Will you tell me what happened to you? All right, I'm going to stop it right here. I don't know how much of this is left, so either I'm going to stop this and there will be a part 2 uploaded tomorrow, or there's not that much left of it and I'm just going to clip these two together. I guess you already know. So I'll see you again in a few seconds, or I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I'm enjoying this so far, and I look forward to the rest of it. See ya. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Graveyard Girls. This is a Halloween-themed visual novel about grief. It's quite heavy and fairly intense, but I'm enjoying it so far. And we're going to pick it up from here. We're still at the Halloween Cafe with Lucia. And she says, "Will you tell me what happened to you?" "Yes, I will." "Yes. But if you have questions, wait until I'm finished." Lucia nods in agreement. "Okay, I can do that. Fair warning, it's a long and messy story. If it's too much to hear right now, please stop me." "I will if I need to." "All right." I swallow, but the lump in my throat remains. It's an uncomfortable ache. Until today, I hadn't felt that for months, maybe even years. It's better than feeling nothing, right? I turn my attention back to Lucia. I'm going to think aloud here. If I come off erratic, that's why. Honestly, I'm ashamed of myself. And that's not typical. I've hated myself. I felt angry, lonely, and stupid, but never ashamed. There was no one around that I cared about enough to feel shame. When you started asking questions, you made me reflect for the first time in a while. Despite my declaration of honesty, I can't help but hold back. Vulnerability is not my thing. It's exactly why therapy has always been a struggle. I decided to borrow the attitude I'd fought so hard to leave behind. Fuck it. Here goes nothing. 4 years ago, I went to a Halloween party. Lucia's eyebrows raised quickly as expected. I was home from college that weekend, and I was so excited to get together with my old friends. We'd all gone to different schools, so it was something we'd been planning for a while. We all dressed up together before the crowd arrived. It started out pretty innocently. But a ton of people showed up, and the party got kind of crazy. My friend was hosting, and she didn't mind, luckily. Originally, I planned to stay the night, but I ended up drinking way too much, and I needed to go home early. My boyfriend stayed on campus that weekend, so he couldn't give me a ride. I called my dad after midnight, and he agreed to come pick me up. He wasn't mad or anything. He was glad that I called when I needed him. I was just having fun and overindulged. He understood. My dad was driving to my friend's place when a teenager in a truck blew through a stop sign and T-boned him. When the emergency services arrived, my dad was still awake. He didn't make it to the hospital. I wait, trying to gauge Lucia's response. She seems okay. I'll keep going. The kid that caused the accident walked away with superficial scratches. He was lucky in that regard. But mentally, he was traumatized. I don't have any ill will towards him anymore. He did his best to make amends with my family. Honestly, I hope he can live a normal life. One mistake shouldn't haunt him forever. After my dad died, things with my mom went downhill pretty quickly. I left school to stay home with her. It didn't feel right to leave her all alone. Things fizzled out with my boyfriend because of the distance, so I was dealing with my stuff too. I tried to be there for my mom, but nothing worked. When I spoke with her, she made me feel like I didn't exist. And when I tried to tell her about my feelings, she shut me down. She treated suffering like a competition. She'd say that he was just my dad. She'd rant on about how we're meant to lose our parents, that he was her husband and that her pain would never end. I barely recognized her. There was even a time when I thought she might kill herself. I didn't know what to do. I was practically still a teenager. I catch myself holding back, but pushed through. It was fucking scary. Lucia purses her lips and nods solemnly. Her eyes speak as sincere and I'm so sorry as she possibly can. But she stays true to her word and doesn't interrupt, sensing that my story isn't complete. Without much of an explanation, she suddenly went on a vacation and never really came back. She moved to the West Coast and got a fresh start. I grit my teeth, forcing myself to say what I'd only ever felt before. My mom said that I was always welcome to join her. But I know she only offered because she knew I'd refuse to move. She knew that I wouldn't follow her. Eventually, she ended up hating my dad. I think it was her way of coping. Their marriage wasn't perfect, but she clung to everything that was wrong. He was a shift worker, always rotating from days to nights. It meant that he didn't get to spend as much time with us as he would have liked, but it paid for my mom's lifestyle. She always had new clothes, a nice car, whatever she asked him for. I know he loved her. He used gifts to try to make up for his schedule. My mom doesn't seem to remember that side of him. I guess it's easier to hate someone rather than mourn them. She never fails to shit-talk him when we're on the phone. In her eyes, her new boyfriend is perfect and my dad was human garbage. I can't stand to listen to her for too long, so I keep our calls short and spaced out. My therapist calls it creating boundaries. Feels like giving up, though. Because in the end, my mom got what she wanted. My mom's goal was to get rid of me, and she won. Call it a mental breakdown, a midlife crisis, or whatever you want. There's something I've never been able to shake off even years later. As I fight to utter them, the words try to escape me. They're unspeakable thoughts. Lucia looks at me, questioning, and I nod. Elle, you're safe with me. Please, you could say it. I exhale. Every day I wake up and think, I want to go home. But I can't. That part of my life, that door is locked. I shake my head, disagreeing with my statement. No, that's not it. I want to go home, but my mom burned the whole house down. When I think of that part of my life, it's like sifting through a pile of ashes. There's nothing left. I did stupid things trying to numb the pain. I partied, slept around. I couldn't go a day without smoking. I was always reaching for painkillers, too. I think I convinced myself they'd quiet the throbbing in my head. House parties were too close to losing him, so I went to nightclubs instead. I remember dancing in the middle of a neon crowd, feeling more alone than I'd ever thought possible. I was surrounded by people smiling and partying, but there was no happiness. I realized no one was looking for me. I was screaming for help and no one could hear me. My dad was dead. My mom had a new life. I was completely alone. Those choices were my own, but They were choices my parents would have protected me from. There were days when I laid in bed and couldn't pull the blankets off. All I could do was reach for a bottle. My own existence was too heavy. It was crushing. I got lucky in the end. My doctor probably saved my life. His office called for an annual checkup, and instead of canceling, I felt compelled to go. I didn't tell him much, but he saw the signs and pushed me into treatment. Lucia, I'm not the kind of person you should be around. I'm not good. My mom, warm tears spill down my frigid cheeks, like spring rain on forgotten snow. My throat constricts, threatening to choke my words into silence. I don't know what I did. I don't know why she left. I don't know why she stopped loving me. Lucia reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. As her fingertips brush across my skin, my shoulders drop. How does she do that? She has such a subtle presence. The smallest gesture feels like she's wrapped me in a fuzzy blanket. Why do I feel safe telling you this? Lucia's expression softens as she pulls her hand away. Maybe this isn't an accidental connection. I hastily wipe away the tears with my sleeve, doing my best to compose myself. What do you mean? I never planned to visit the cemetery. My sister wasn't the reason I pulled over. It was because of you. The universe put you there and pulled me in like a magnet. I was sent to find you. I think we were meant to meet. Maybe you're right. When I visited his grave, I nearly left as soon as I got there. I felt stupid for thinking that a visit could help me find closure. I was going to leave, but I felt pull. So I sat down and stayed. A magnetism. That could have been the allergy meds, though. They're prescribed by my doctor for anxiety. I took more than I'm supposed to. Lucia stiffens. I know, it's wrong. I'm not perfect. I'm an idiot, honestly. I promise I won't do it again. But if I hadn't, we probably wouldn't have met. She nods sympathetically. That's something to talk to your doctor about, Elle. Or a mental health professional. Please be careful. Kate took her meds properly, and it still had unexpected consequences. Make an appointment when you go home. I nod in agreement. I will. Good, I'll hold you to it. She sticks out her tongue playfully. Book that, and our next cheesecake date is on me. Another date? Maybe she is my type. It's a deal. Great. Also, I want to make a point. I don't think anxiety meds are why we met. I have to argue fate's case. I think there was a sign that we were meant to find each other. I just couldn't see it until now. What sign? The bouquet of blue roses for Kate. They weren't there during her burial. Someone dropped them off afterward. I don't follow. Well, the thing about blue roses is, they're not a typical flower to leave at a grave all on their own. Usually you have an arrangement with all kinds of accents. Roses weren't something Kate liked either. But there's a local tradition behind blue roses. No one really remembers this kind of stuff anymore, except for florists in the region. It's a lost tradition. What's the tradition? In folklore, children would leave a single blue flower at the grave of their father. Blue roses became particularly popular because they weren't naturally occurring. The gesture symbolizes peace or serenity, depending on who you ask. My grandfather always told me that leaving a blue rose would help a father's spirit move on. Otherwise, they'd cling to this world to watch over their children. It grants the deceased an acceptance of their passing and allows their children to grieve. I'm certain that I was meant to find that rose. Your dad was meant to have it. Lucia's words at his graveside echo through my mind. I do have an idea, if you want to leave him something meaningful. So that's what she meant. It seems like more of a coincidence than anything. Still, I'm left with questions. I don't get your meaning. Why do you think the rose was fateful? It seems like someone dropped them off after Kate's service, that's all. I think you're wrong. Fate put those roses there for a reason, regardless of who brought them. You were meant to take part in that tradition for him. I feel frustration ebb into my voice. Yeah, but why? Why? It was the question that always haunted me. Why did my dad have to die? Why did Mom leave? Why was everything familiar gone in an instant? Lucia smiles with patience beyond her years, as if she's waiting for my realization. Why? Because your dad doesn't need to worry about you being alone anymore. I'm here now. I fumble, racing to organize my thoughts. Do you really mean that? El, that rose was waiting for us. He deserves to be at peace. You're not alone anymore. I'm not going anywhere, if you want me around. My tears threaten to overflow, but I crane my neck backward to stop them. Deep breath in, deep breath out. When I look back to her, I can only bear to whisper my answer. I want you to stay. I will. For the first time since my dad died, I feel a bond. A new connection. I don't want to lose her. You'll keep your promise, right? What did I promise? I grin at her. To text me once you drop me off! Lucia reaches for her phone and begins to tap away at the screen. Is she texting me right now? She gasps suddenly. Oh, shoot! We need to go soon. It's getting pretty late. If we stay much longer, you're gonna miss your trick-or-treaters. You got that date with your leftover candy, too. As much as I don't want to leave quite yet, I don't want to keep Lucia too late. We better go. I don't need kids egging my place. Plus, I don't want you missing that party. I think I'll skip out. It's been an interesting day. Well, I hope you find the energy to go out. Halloween is my favorite holiday. Mine too. And don't worry, I'm gonna send you pictures of my oh. Sorry, yeah, it's Lucia. And don't worry, I'm gonna send you pictures of my costume. It better be spooky, that's what I picked. I'm sure you'll love them. I can't help but bite at my lip. Looking forward to it. Oh, are they gonna be zesty pictures? Lucia waves towards the waitress. Can we get the bill, please? The waitress better not have any lines, oh no.
I'll get that right away.
Oh, it's too early for that. The waitress glances towards our untouched plates. Nope.
I'm sorry. Was there something wrong with your cheesecake?
No. We're in a bit of rush, that's all. Could we get takeout boxes, please?
Of course.
Thank you, Shadow Monster.
Thanks for coming. Happy Halloween!
Oh, I didn't know. With the bill paid, we cross the street and head to Lucia's car. I focus on giving Lucia directions to my neighborhood. I can't help but feel eager to get a box of Halloween decorations dusted off and onto my doorstep. I'm at number 235. Right here? Yep, that's my place. Lucia pulls over and parks the car. As the engine switches off, I can't help but wonder what she's up to. Is she gonna help me pass out candy? I thought she'd just drop me off. Let me walk you to your door. You don't have to do that. She giggles softly. Of course I do. This place is crawling with monsters. A giant spider. It's huge, looking right at you. Little superheroes, princesses, and ghouls begin to trickle out into the streets, passing by houses without porch lights. I hurry up the steps and unlock my door. As I turn the key, I feel Lucia's eyes on my back. What, no goodbye? I stick out my tongue. Don't act so worried. I'm not ditching you just yet. I look back and pop the door open, hit the light switch, and watch as the dim orange glow flickers on. It looks like you get plenty of kids on this street. Oh yeah, I rarely have leftover candy. That's too bad. I would have liked to steal some. You're lucky then. Why is that? I have a stash just for myself, and I might be willing to share. Doesn't that mean you'd have to make plans to see me again? I guess so. Whoa! Speed dash. Lucia steps closer. I could smell the faint remnants of a pumpkin and espresso aroma swirling around her. Her gaze drifts downward from my eyes and traces my lips. I'd like that. Is she... Could it be... Oh my... Boo! An eruption of laughter echoes from across the street. A group of trick-or-treaters were trying to scare their friends. Lucia adjusts the strap of her purse, clearly flustered. I've been thinking about our next date. I can't help but smile when she says, date. You have? Yup. Maybe we could go with something casual? Coffee wasn't casual? I meant the topics. I'd love to know what your favorite music is or what your childhood pets were like. I want to know more about you. My heartbeat quickens. I like where you're going with that. I could do simple. As long as you spill some details too. I want to hear all about your past. Ex-boyfriends, adventures, everything. Lucia begins to fidget again, this time with her necklace. Well, you won't have to worry about boyfriends. She seems anxious about the admission. That's a relief. No competition. I try my best to make her laugh, but all I get is a grin. Worth it. Do you like horror movies? Yes! God, me and Lucia are the same person. I love horror movies too, and I've never had a boyfriend! Although I'm more into ghost stories. Slashers aren't my thing. Alright. Did you want to come over tomorrow night? We can eat candy and watch a haunted house film. Her eyes light up. I'd love to! Great, it's a plan. Although I do have one question for you. What is it? Should I expect flowers? Always. Guess I better buy a vase. Don't be silly, I can bring one. Lucia reaches into her purse and taps at her phone. It's getting late. I think I should head home. There is something else I wanted to say before you go. Okay. It's that if you do change your mind about us seeing each other again, it's okay. Why do you say that? Because meeting you was a blessing either way. You made me see myself so clearly. I used to think that I'd never make a step forward, that my grief hadn't changed. Today, you were a mirror into my past. I could finally see that I've been doing whatever I needed to. I'm growing. So, blue roses and fate aside, you lost your sister this week. I'd rather you lean on me and not the other way around. I also want you to take as much time as you need before we see each other again. If you wake up tomorrow and can't get out of bed, that's natural. I'm not in a rush. I'll wait for you when you're ready to spend time together. Put yourself first. Lucia nods. Thank you for saying that. But just so you know, you can't get out of our date that easy. I expect chocolate bars and lollipops tomorrow night, or you're in big trouble. Good to know. I'll be ready. Lucia bites at her bottom lip absent-mindedly. I'm glad that I found you today. I can't wait to get to know you better. Lucia inches closer to me. Just kiss already! Good night, Elle. A hug. Okay, a hug will do, I suppose. Oh! Lucia wraps her arms around me in a warm embrace. I think you're an amazing person. Thank you for today. No. I smile. No, thank you. I'm glad that you found me, Lucia. I squeeze her tight. Good night. Oh. Very abrupt. Did I skip the... Wait, go back? Good night. There we go. That's a little better. I was afraid I skipped something else in terms of dialogue. That's better, though. All right, that's Graveyard Girls. Wow. Like I said at the top, this was something I had pretty much bought because it was Halloween festive, and I thought that could be something fun to stream in October. And naturally, it is not like anything else I'm playing at the moment, or have played on this channel before, or have played at all, really. I'm not super well versed in visual novels, and the ones that I have played on stream have all been pretty horror themed. So this was different. I think this was definitely the right way to play this. I think it would have been, I don't know, just I think it would have been strange and filled with too many interruptions if I streamed it. So I'm glad I did the pre-record approach with this. I did enjoy it. You know, like I said, I'm pretty green when it comes to visual novels. So my review or perspective on it might be different than others, but you know, it was quite heavy. It really was. I definitely understand why there were those content warnings up at the top, because it gets pretty intense and it gets pretty dark and gets pretty heavy. But I did enjoy the writing in it. As somebody who has experienced an unfortunate amount of grief in the last few years, Spooktober! I related to some of it. I saw some of myself in it, heard some truths in it. I'd be very surprised to learn that the writer also hadn't lost somebody recently before writing it, or... Oh, look, she's happy and has a blue rose. Oh, there's more! Golden light trickles across my windowsill. What a beautiful sunrise. For the first time that I can remember, I'm glad to see a new day. I snuggle under the covers to enjoy one last second of warmth. I sigh. Instead of angry words, anxious dreams, or dark cravings, there's only one thing on my mind. One person. I imagine her in the room with me. What would that be like? Maybe I'd make her pancakes? We could sit down for breakfast and chat the morning away? I bet she'd love a coffee. The fantasy warms the forgotten ice in my heart. Despite being alone, I want to say it. Good morning, Lucia. I'll see you soon. It's a promise to myself, one I intend to keep. Oh, nice ending. Good ending. I wonder if you can get them to kiss. If you, there's not that many decisions. Surely I got us the happiest, most promising ending. Maybe. I don't know. There were a couple choices in there. But yeah, I did enjoy the writing. I'm not an artist by any stretch, so I also feel unqualified to critique the art, but I did think all of the character art was quite nice. The backgrounds were a little low detail, some of them, you know, but that's all right. If I had to say anything about the art, I would say maybe I just wish there was some more variety in it, right? Like there's that stretch in the middle where you're just kind of looking at the same drawing of Lucia for a long time at the cafe. It would have been nice if it, just when Elle was speaking, it switched over to an illustration of her, just to give it some variety. I felt like there was a couple moments there where we were spending a really long time on the same illustrations. Just because of my understanding of visual novels, you know, there's not much else to do other than read, right? So it would be nice to have some other pictures to look at, but that's perfectly fine. It's not a big deal, or a stick up or a hang up or whatever. But I am glad that I played this. It was a very different kind of Halloween game, and I'm glad I got out of my comfort zone and gave this a chance, because I thought it was a pretty rewarding experience. And perhaps I'll have to keep an open mind towards similar things in the future. But that's the end of the playthrough. I hope you enjoyed it if you checked it out. Like I said, this is pretty abnormal as far as what I usually play. Right now, I am in the middle of my October Halloween streaming celebration, so I'm playing Silent Hill 2 Remake. I just finished Costume Quest 2 recently, and I have a couple of other festive surprises coming up. So if you did enjoy it, hey, even if you're more of a visual novel person, why not step out of your own comfort zone and go ahead and subscribe and join me next time. All the links are in the description of the video. I'm live on Twitch Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday nights, twitch.tv/WattRealAnt, and then the VODs come over here to live forever the very next day. Alright, thanks for watching. I probably will just stitch these two videos together now. I think that makes sense. Alright, thanks for watching. take it easy and take care of yourself.